My boyfriend Eman Foster lost his memory after a car accident, forgetting everything about me, Audrey Moore. Every day I cried until my eyes were red and swollen, praying he would remember our past. Yet he tenderly took his first love, Emilia Sanders' hand, and told me that Emilia was the only true love of his life. On the day of his wedding to Emilia, I stood before him in a wedding dress, asking him one last time if he could remember me. However, his noble and stern face was filled with disdain as he said coldly, "Audrey, do you know how disgusting it is that you keep pestering me like this?" I was dragged out by security amid everyone's mocking laughter. Completely heartbroken, I chose to go abroad to pursue scientific research. I thought I would never cross paths with him again in this lifetime. But on the very day I left, he recovered all his memories. Today is Eman and my wedding. I hope you can attend. Looking at the words on the invitation, I smiled bitterly. The groom was Eman, the bride was Emilia. But who could have imagined that just a month ago, Eman was still my boyfriend? Because of a sudden car accident, he lost his memory. He forgot me, but somehow only remembered that Emilia was his first love whom he loved but couldn't have. I stayed at the hospital caring for him day and night for 7 whole days. But the first thing he did when he woke up was call Emilia to tell her he had always loved her deeply. For the past month, I've been like a fool, doing everything I could to awaken his memory. I desperately recreated all the familiar scenes from our past, even begged Eman's parents to explain our relationship to him. In the end, all I got was Eman's cold warning. If you continue using these despicable tactics to disturb my girlfriend in my life, I'll consider taking legal action against you. I asked the doctor in anguish, is this kind of memory loss really irreversible? The doctor just shook his head regretfully, telling me everything was up to fate. But we had loved each other for 3 whole years, sharing over 1,000 days and nights together. How could I just let go? We had already met each other's parents, gotten engaged, and even chosen our wedding dress. Yet he personally told me he was going to marry someone else. How could I find peace with that? I clutched my head in pain, trying to convince myself this was all just an illusion. But my phone kept vibrating, constantly reminding me of reality's existence. I mechanically opened the chat window to find a screen full of congratulatory messages. To announce his love for Emilia to everyone, Eman had made a grand spectacle of telling everyone around him about the wedding, everyone except me, his ex-girlfriend. I had apparently become an unspeakable stain in his life, something to be avoided at all costs. If Emilia hadn't personally sent me that invitation, I wouldn't have even known they were getting married today. The bridal shop clerk called. "Miss, the wedding dress you and your husband custom ordered last month is ready. Is it convenient for you to pick it up now?" I held the phone in a daze for a long time. Just as I was about to refuse, I remembered that it was the wedding dress Eman had personally chosen for me. In my moment of near despair, a glimmer of hope quietly emerged. If I wore this wedding dress to see him, would he remember me again? The answer was no. When I walked into the wedding hall, the pastor was reading the vows to the bride and groom. Seeing me dressed up in full wedding attire, people around me cast puzzled and strange looks in my direction. A flicker of panic crossed Emilia's face, but after noticing Eman's increasingly cold expression, her eyes turned mocking. I stopped in front of Eman, and before I could even speak, he furiously tore off my veil and threw it hard on the ground. He said, "Audrey, do you know that today is the most important day of my life? You deliberately dressed like this to disgust me, didn't you? Or are you still clinging to those unrealistic fantasies, thinking I'm still your boyfriend? Well, let me tell you, that will never happen in this lifetime." I was so stung by these vicious words that I couldn't speak. I wanted to explain, but suddenly realized that in everyone else's eyes, I looked like a homewrecker trying to break up someone's marriage. Eman waved his hand, and several security guards immediately stepped forward to forcibly escort me away. As I struggled, I saw Eman tenderly pull Emilia into his arms, gently comforting her. I finally understood that Eman would never remember me again, and would never love me again. Wearing the heavy wedding dress, I was thrown out of the hotel. Because of Eman's rough handling earlier, my hair was disheveled and messy. Winter had just passed, and though it should have been the warm spring season with blooming flowers, fine snow began to fall. Outside, I sat on a stone bench by the roadside and couldn't help but burst into tears. Only when I was exhausted from crying did I notice a black umbrella above my head. The man holding the umbrella asked nervously and awkwardly, "Miss, do you need help?" I mechanically shook my head, but still managed to croak out a thank you. Hearing my voice, he seemed startled. He frantically shoved the umbrella into my hands, threw down a coat, and fled in panic. I sighed helplessly. The grief I had just suppressed began to spread again. Looking so pathetic now, even strangers avoided me. My phone had automatically shut down from the cold temperature on the road. After returning home and plugging it in, I discovered my phone screen was full of messages from others. Friends called one after another. Audrey, what's this about Emilia saying you interfered with her and Eman's marriage? Isn't Eman your boyfriend? The video of you crashing the wedding has been posted online, and everyone's cursing you out. Please text me back. I collapsed exhausted on the sofa, but when I saw these messages, I was surprisingly calm. After collecting myself, I replied to my friend. We broke up a month ago. My friend was shocked. But didn't you two get engaged before this? I replied. It's all in the past. I'll clarify this matter. I found Eman's post on Twitter, and the comment section was already flooded with people cursing me out. I left a comment below apologizing and explaining that for the past month, it had all been my wishful thinking trying to win him back. I hereby solemnly declare that I will never disturb Eman and Emilia's life in any way from now on. After typing out the statement word by word, I deactivated my social media accounts. This way, I could at least face my former lover with a clear conscience. My friend called frantically asking, do you know how much cyberbullying you'll face by doing this? Emilia is already a somewhat famous influencer. Don't you know how terrifying influencer fans can be? I just smiled and answered, I know. I was afraid of cyberbullying too. But what I feared more was the version of myself that I could never get back.